You're standing there, watching the project bleed out, red flags everywhere. Someone's neck is practically spurting failure. And what happens? Everyone starts pointing fingers. The dev team blames sales. Sales blames marketing. Marketing blames the vague product brief. Your entire department becomes a human game of hot potato, but the potato is a ticking time bomb. Here's the gut punch this book delivers. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. Yeah, I know, it's a harsh truth. And my first thought was, come on, that's too simple. But then you realize how often we hear the same tired refrains. The market is down, my team is lazy, my boss is completely vague. These aren't reasons. They're excuses, band-aids for a deeper systemic issue. This book isn't about surviving a war zone. It's about why you're stuck in middle management, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering why your best efforts keep getting derailed. If this hits home for you, drop a like. But before you blame your incompetence on circumstances, let's look at the algorithm Navy SEALs use to survive chaos. The No Bad Teams Reality Check. You've inherited a team. Maybe it's not bad per se, but they're underperforming, missing targets, constantly hitting roadblocks. Your first instinct? Blame. The team's lazy, underskilled, unmotivated. Sound familiar? We've all been there. Here at Audiobook Bites, we distill the best books into actionable insights, but nothing beats the original. Grab the book if you want the full deep dive. Now let's talk about that blame game, because here's a concept that shatters that tired narrative, the No Bad Teams Reality Check. This isn't just a catchy title. This is a cold, hard truth that will reshape how you view leadership. Honestly, the author drops a tactical nuke here, demanding you confront an uncomfortable truth. Their premise? There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. Take a breath. I know, right? Your gut probably just screamed in protest. Maybe you just scoffed. My team is bad. But let's unpack it before you dismiss it completely. Consider the classic Navy SEAL boat crew story. This isn't some motivational poster fluff. It's real. They took two identical teams. One consistently lost races, bickering, failing, morale in the gutter. The other dominated, a well-oiled machine. What happens next? They swap leaders. Overnight. Same personnel on each boat, same competitive pressure. The previously failing team with the winning leader immediately starts winning. Not just marginally, they dominate. The original losing leader, now with the formerly winning crew, somehow manages to drag that once winning team down into the mud. This story isn't about genetics or innate talent. It demolishes the idea that your team is inherently flawed. It slams the spotlight directly onto you, the leader. You carry the burden. Think about John, a mid-level manager at a sprawling logistics company. John constantly complains his drivers are always late, fuel costs are through the roof, customer satisfaction is tanking faster than a lead balloon. He's tried everything: new drivers, new routes, even shiny new software. Nothing sticks. His go-to explanation? They just don't care, he sighs, nursing a lukewarm coffee, convinced his problems stem from unmotivated drones. Typical office politics, right? But here's the kicker. When pressed, John admits he never actually defined on time. He never established clear, non-negotiable consequences for being late. He never built a streamlined system for drivers to flag route issues before they became problems, impacting delivery times and customer trust. He never trained them on fuel-efficient driving techniques beyond a casual email. He just assumed they knew. John wasn't leading, he was delegating blind. John wasn't just a bottleneck, he was the bottleneck. His team was just reacting to his lack of clarity. If this hits home for you, if you feel that familiar sting of recognition, drop a like, seriously, because this is where the doom loop kicks in, and it's silently costing you execution speed and sanity. The doom loop? It's that insidious cycle where your ego demands you shift blame. Your team fails, so you rationalize. They're incompetent, or the market's just too volatile, or inflation is killing us. What can anyone do? Or upper management keeps giving us conflicting priorities. This immediate, visceral protection of your ego halts execution speed. It blinds you to the real levers you could pull, to the systems you control. Instead of fixing your flawed approach, you spend precious time and energy on complaints and excuses, not solutions. You're stuck in a holding pattern while your competition moves. Here's the harsh, unapologetic truth. If your team is failing, you failed. To train them, to clarify the mission, to establish clear, measurable standards, to provide the necessary resources, to lead. This isn't an accusation, it's a diagnosis. Now, let's get controversial. You want to stop the revolving door of underperforming employees? You want to actually build a high-performing unit that crushes targets, even when the economy gets rocky or the side hustles distract? The pivot is simple, yet brutally difficult. Stop firing people and start looking in the mirror. Stop asking, whose fault is this? And start asking, what could I have done differently? This isn't about self-flagellation or wallowing in guilt. It's about unlocking immense personal power. Because once you own the problem, you instantly own the solution. That's radical responsibility. That's the core concept we're driving towards. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, it requires serious introspection, but it's the only path to genuine influence, accelerated execution, and undeniable success. Taking blame hurts the ego, but this next framework stops your brain from freezing when the pressure actually hits. The antidote to anxiety: prioritize and execute. You're drowning, swamped. 40 emails arrived before your first cup of coffee. Your boss just forwarded another urgent request, highlighted in red. Your side hustle is begging for attention, but you're stuck scrolling, frozen. That's analysis paralysis, pure and simple. And frankly, it's a killer for your peace of mind and your productivity. Here's the deal. Your brain, brilliant as it is, has a major design flaw under pressure. When the stakes escalate, a screaming client on line 1, a project deadline looming, inflation eating your savings, your system slams into what we call the red zone. Your amygdala, that ancient alarm bell in your brain, shrieks. Adrenaline floods your system. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logical thought and decision-making, effectively takes a coffee break. It simply disconnects. You feel overwhelmed because neurologically you are. Your brain literally can't decide. It just wants to fight, flee, or freeze. Most of us default to freeze. This book offers a powerful antidote, a protocol designed to shatter that paralysis. It's called Prioritize and Execute. But don't let the corporate jargon fool you. This isn't about some complex flowchart. It's a battlefield tactic. First step, detach. Sounds a bit woo-woo, right? Like you need to meditate for an hour? Absolutely not. This isn't about finding your inner calm. This is about physically and mentally stepping back. When the panic starts to spike, when your mind races through 100 conflicting tasks, you literally disengage. Close the laptop, stand up, walk to the window, get a glass of water, just for 60 seconds. This simple act re-engages your prefrontal cortex. It gives that part of your brain a chance to come back online, to see the whole messy battlefield instead of just the immediate threat. Think of a sniper pulling back from the scope for a moment to get a wider view. You need that wider view. Once you've taken that micro break, you're ready for the next critical step. Identify the single biggest threat. Not 2, not 3, just 1. Out of those 400 unread emails, the angry client, the presentation due in an hour, what's the absolute biggest, most immediate danger if ignored? Is it the client about to jump ship? Is it the presentation that dictates your quarter's bonus? You don't pick the easiest task. You pick the most impactful one. This isn't about clearing your inbox. It's about neutralizing the bomb. Now you execute. You pour 100% of your focus into that one thing. You don't glance at other emails, you don't answer calls not related to that task, you don't get sucked into office politics. You eliminate all distractions and you go to war with that single biggest threat until it's handled. Done. Feeny. Here's the kicker. Once that biggest threat is gone, your brain doesn't stay in the red zone. The pressure valve releases. Your rational mind stays online. Now you repeat the process. Detach. Identify the new single biggest threat. Execute. The return on investment for this approach, massive. You eliminate decision fatigue. You know the mental exhaustion that constantly weighing options from feeling like you have too many balls in the air? This protocol crushes it. You make faster, more confident decisions because you're not trying to optimize an impossible situation. You're simply eliminating the most dangerous variable. This isn't just about getting things done. It's about preserving your mental energy for what truly matters, especially in high-stakes environments. You'll be the calmest person in the room, cutting through the chaos while everyone else is still hyperventilating. If this hits home for you, if you recognize that brain freeze, drop a like. Once you stop panicking, you need to stop doing everyone else's job for them. Here is how you clone yourself. Escaping the micromanagement trap. You're stuck, right? Chasing approvals, drowning in CCs, feeling like your entire professional life is one giant queue. You're the bottleneck, or worse, you're working for one. This section, Escaping the Micromanagement Trap, isn't just theory. It's about igniting your execution speed, not just yours, but your entire team's. Remember that software dev team? The one waiting 4 agonizing days for approval to buy a $50 plugin, a critical productivity-boosting tool? While their boss was still dissecting the email thread, a competitor shipped the exact feature they were trying to build. That's not just inefficiency, that is death by centralization. That's market share slipping away. That's your raise shrinking because some executive needs to rubber stamp every micro expenditure. This isn't sustainable. Not with inflation eating your savings, not when you're trying to build a side hustle and don't have time to hold everyone else's hand at your day job. Now, this book champions something called Commander's Intent. Honestly, the name sounds a bit military, overkill even, but strip away the uniform and you find a core truth. It shatters the micromanagement mindset. Here's the fundamental shift you need to make. Stop managing how people do things. Start defining what success looks like and why it matters. That's Commander's Intent. The overarching goal, the mission, the why behind the what. You outline the desired outcome. You articulate the purpose. Here's the kicker. You also define the boundaries. What are the red lines? What absolutely cannot happen? What resources are off limits? What are the non-negotiables? You give them the objective, you define the playing field, and then you walk away. You let them figure out the how. Think about it this way. If you're approving every single decision, from the color of the presentation slides to that $50 plugin purchase, you become the speed limit of your entire company. Every choice, every pivot, every step forward grinds to a halt on your desk. Your calendar isn't just filled with meetings, it's a graveyard of stalled progress. You're not leading, you're manually pushing every single car down a 6-lane highway. That's where those bosses live, the ones who absolutely, positively need to be CC'd on every single email, no matter how trivial. It's not about information sharing, it's about control. It's the digital equivalent of holding up a traffic light at an empty intersection, just in case. They're effectively telling their team, I don't trust you to make a decision without my explicit blessing. And that's not just demotivating, it's crippling. Your competitors aren't asking for CC approval. They're shipping, they're iterating, they're winning. Here's what you can do. Delegate outcomes, not tasks. Lay out the what and the why. Then state the limits, the non-negotiables, the constraints, and then back off. Empower your team to navigate the how. Trust them. If they fail, that's a learning moment for both of you, not an indictment of your trust. This isn't about throwing people into the deep end without a lifeguard. It's about giving them the compass and the map, not drawing every step for them. If this hits home for you, drop a like. Your team is now moving fast, but are they moving together, or are they shooting each other in the back? How to win at office politics. You've seen it, the corporate turf war, sales battling marketing for budget, engineering side-eyeing product, everyone hunkered down defending their patch. You think you're being smart, protecting your team, your resources, but here's the brutal truth. That mentality decimates your career faster than a poorly worded Slack message. We're diving into the heart of Jocko Willink's extreme ownership today, specifically the concept of cover and move. And honestly, Jocko's military analogies can feel a bit rigid for cubicle life. But underneath the tactical jargon, there's a strategic gem that will absolutely elevate your game. Forget the PowerPoint slides and the HR platitudes. Cover and move in a combat zone means two elements working in tandem. One unit provides suppressing fire, they cover, while the other unit advances, they move. They switch roles, constantly supporting each other to survive and achieve the objective. Fail to cover, and your moving squad gets mowed down. Fail to move, and your covering squad is pinned. Mutual dependence, pure, brutal survival. Now, translate that into your corporate jungle. Your survival, your project success, your bonus absolutely hinges on other departments. Sales covers operations by landing deals and securing revenue. Operations moves the product, delivering on those promises, building customer loyalty. Procurement covers development by sourcing critical components. Development moves by building the next killer feature. It's a relentless, interconnected cycle. When one link falters, the entire chain weakens. Here's the kicker. Most companies operate like a fractured militia. You've witnessed the classic marketing versus sales rivalry, right? Marketing generates leads, then sales complains they're garbage. Sales demands features, engineering says they're impossible. That us versus them mentality, it's corporate self-sabotage. It destroys cohesion. It shatters client trust. Think about the last time sales promised a client a feature that literally did not exist because engineering wasn't in the loop. The company loses that client. And who actually loses? You, your job security, your reputation. The author, Jocko, drives home a point that's uncomfortable but crucial. You need to see every other department as an asset to your survival, not a competitor for budget, headcount, or praise. Your marketing team isn't just over there burning through ad spend. They're your early warning system, your brand champions, the engine covering your sales efforts. Your finance department isn't just the no department. They're the gatekeepers ensuring the company moves forward without collapsing under fiscal mismanagement. So what's the play here? You cultivate those relationships. You understand their objectives, their limitations. You proactively offer support. When sales is trying to close a tough deal, you don't just wait for them to ask for data, you anticipate their needs and feed them the ammunition. When engineering is swamped, you advocate for resources, even if it means temporarily shifting priorities from your own team. This isn't about being a corporate martyr, it's about strategic self-preservation. When the entire company wins, you win bigger. It's about demolishing those internal silos. It's about recognizing that your victory is intrinsically tied to their victory. This strategy propels you beyond individual achievements and positions you as an indispensable leader, someone who truly understands the full ecosystem. You become the force multiplier. If this idea of interdepartmental synergy hits home for you, drop a like. Now, this sounds great, but Jocko's advice isn't perfect. Here is where extreme ownership can actually get you fired. Where extreme ownership fails you. You poured your heart into that last project. You owned it. Took responsibility for every hiccup, every missed deliverable, even the ones outside your direct control. You thought you were demonstrating leadership, proving your mettle. Instead, you're now staring down a performance improvement plan. Sound familiar? That's where we rip off the shiny wrapper of extreme ownership and conduct our own skeptics audit. This isn't about tearing down the core concept, which absolutely shatters limitations when applied correctly. This is about building a BS filter. Because honestly, the military battlefield isn't your cubicle farm, and applying these principles blindly can incinerate your career faster than a poorly managed server. Let's hit the first truth bomb, the zero nuance fallacy. The book often implies that if something goes wrong, you own it, full stop. But let's be real, sometimes it is the system. You can't personally take ownership for a legacy software platform built on duct tape and good intentions that constantly crashes. You can't own inflation driving up your project costs when corporate wants to adjust budgets. Pretending you can fix a broken corporate hierarchy, a crippling lack of resources, or a market crash by just owning it? That's not ownership, that's delusion. That level of blind self-blame blinds you to the genuine systemic issues that need structural solutions, not individual martyrdom. Your energy gets wasted trying to patch a fundamentally leaking ship with your bare hands, instead of identifying who needs to call the shipyard. Now for the really dangerous one, the martyrdom trap. Here's the scenario. You take ownership for a missed deadline caused by a lazy coworker, or worse, a genuinely negligent one. Your boss doesn't see leadership potential, they just see you as the person who missed the deadline. You get put on a PIP. You're covering for an employee who consistently underperforms, maybe even a sociopath who actively sabotages, and you're taking the hit. This isn't leadership. This is legal liability. This isn't earning respect. It's incriminating yourself. When you shield bad actors, you essentially become complicit in their failures. If a team member's actions lead to a compliance breach, a customer lawsuit, or a data security incident, and you own it without escalating the core problem, you've just volunteered to be the fall guy. That's a direct route to professional ruin, not promotion. And here's the kicker, often overlooked in the high-octane world of leadership books: managing up. You're already scrambling to keep up, juggling your main gig, maybe a side hustle just to beat inflation. Now imagine you have an insecure boss, a manager who thrives on delegating downward, who actively avoids accountability. When you embrace extreme ownership, you essentially hand them a golden ticket to do less work. They'll exploit your willingness to take the fall, dumping their responsibilities, their missed deadlines, their poor planning right onto your plate. Your dedication doesn't inspire them, it just empowers their laziness. They see you as a convenient human shield, not a future leader. You're not building a bridge to higher office, you're building a comfortable hammock for your boss. So how do we fix this? The authentic power of ownership isn't about absorbing all blame. It's about a strategic reframe. Use ownership to find solutions, not to shield bad actors. Own your response to a problem, not necessarily the genesis of every problem. If the system fails, own the process of identifying why it failed and proposing viable solutions within your sphere of influence. If a coworker drops the ball, own the communication upwards about the impact and offer a plan for mitigation, but do not absorb their responsibility. This approach transforms extreme ownership into strategic influence. It empowers you to tackle challenges proactively without letting others exploit your commitment. It's about finding the actual path forward, not volunteering for a firing squad. If this hits home for you, drop a like. So is this military manual worth your weekend? Let's look at the final ROI. Buy or burn? All right, final verdict time. Here's the deal. 40% are compelling war stories, sure, but 60% pure actionable gold. Your strategic recommendation? Skip the detailed combat logs. Navigate directly to the business application sections. That's where you unlock the true value. If you're a beginner manager, this book shatters excuses. Veterans, it's a sharp reminder to stop blaming the team, the market, or the algorithm. Just don't let the tough guy persona make you annoying at dinner parties. Here's the kicker, and if this hits home for you, drop a like. Stop whining about views. Stop blaming the algorithm. Your content sucks. Fix it.